Have you ever looked at your mortgage statement and thought, why does it feel like none of my payments are even lowering my balance? Well, you're not alone. Today, we're breaking down amortization, the thing every homeowner signs up for and almost nobody truly understands. So stay tuned as we dive deep into the numbers and show you strategies that can save you thousands. Happy Wednesday, everyone, and welcome to the Mojo Show, your real estate podcast where we talk about everything real estate. I'm your host, Joe Mortgage.
And I'm Cup of Joe Mortgage.
This week's episode, we're jumping right into part 2 of our amortization series covering your mortgage payment, how it really works. If you didn't catch part 1 of last week's episode, hit the pause button right now and go back to part 1 on our YouTube channel at the Mojo Show Real Estate Podcast and check it out. We covered some great stuff in that episode. But before we dive into everything, a little coffee talk with the Joes this morning. And I heard something, Joe, I got to ask. Something about your dog. I assume it's Remy. That did that, and something about Remy and this pink Pepto-Bismol stuff. What's going on in your house? Joe, you there?
All right. Well, first, I got to fix my internet issue. I don't know if you guys see me locking up. Keep locking up.
Yes, you're locking up.
So give me just a second. I'm noticing I have too many things open today. And it's been just that day.
Where's our program engineer?
Right. Can we get them on? All right. So Valentine's Day is this weekend, right? And so Tina is making these pretzel rods for work and doing different. I don't want to say icing because it's like these little chips that you go and you put them and you melt them down and then you dip them in. So it's kind of like, white chocolate, reds and stuff like that, but it wasn't actually chocolate. I don't know what the name of it is. So if there's anybody that is listening and you can tell me what this stuff is, please put it in the comments for me because I cannot remember what it is, but it's like little round chips. I can't do my hand right for the camera.
I like chocolate chips and they just melt
well,
down.
They're a little bit bigger. So they're about like a quarter size. And what it was she melted them down and then she did a pink, she did a white, and then she did some sprinkles on them. Long story short. So every time she finished with the color, she dumped it into a container that we were throwing away.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a 8x8 container that's probably about 4 or 5 inches tall. And it's half full of this leftover stuff because you keep moving around. And I went to run an errand, came back, and that container is licked dry.
Oh, no. I think I see where this is going.
So, mind you, the pink is that Valentine red pink color. Talking to my daughter, I was like, at least she's throwing up like on the wood floors or outside. We're good. As I said it, I'm not kidding you. 2 seconds out of my mouth, all of a sudden, big old spot right in the middle of the rug.
Oh, no.
In the living room. And I'm like, all right, Tina, I got it cleaned up. I was like, well, we can turn the rug and it'll be back there. We'll be fine. Nope. She did it again. Different spot, other side of the rug. Can't turn the rug anymore.
And when you say she did it again, I heard your daughter. This is not your daughter. It's your dog.
Dog. And,
dog.
And when you guys see the big gray, black spotted dog walking around, the Great Dane, that's what it was.
So the dog licked the bowl clean of all this icing chocolate stuff.
Yeah. And
proceeded to.
And it's toxic for dogs. So we were watching her, making sure she was fine. Just drinking a ton of water because she's trying to flush it out of her system. So that was a whole 24 hours of me just right there. Didn't sleep. because every time I'd hear a noise, I was rushing her out the door. I felt like I had a toddler again that was sick, to tell you the truth. Only difference is this is my dog, and it's, Tina's like, you wanted the Great Dane. Yeah, sure did.
Yep.
So countertops are not safe.
Okay. So of course sounds like it ended up being your fault, right?
It's all, yeah, I mean, it's my
pretty
dog.
much always yours.
So,
Okay.
but yeah, so that's been my fun. And I know yesterday we were talking about it, Joe, and I had you rolling. We could go on a whole show of me talking about everything I had to do and make people laugh.
I think we could probably have an entire blooper series on your life in Coffee Talk. Yeah.
That's very true. I enjoy life. I enjoy life a lot. I'm a survivor. That's the only thing I can go with here.
So you got this spots, probably large spots, because Remy is a big dog, of Pepto-Bismol all over your house.
Yep, on the rug in the living room. So this weekend, my chore is, my honeydew, pull the rug out, which is about an 8x10, roll it up, pull it outside, because it's supposed to be sunny and nice in Nebraska, 54, so I'm happy, and pressure wash this rug and try to get the pink out of it.
Have any of you listeners, anybody that's listening, have you ever had this before? Or anything like it with your dog, your cat, whatever animal you have, parakeet?
I would love to hear. I would love to see comments.
I would love to hear some of these stories. Would love to. Please do.
Well, I told Justin Huff today, and we've never had him on our show, but he listens, and every once in a while he'll listen to us. Justin Huff was rolling. I was like, I'm about to give this dog to you. And he was like, Nicole's trying to tell me her dog's mine because it was barking this morning, and I'm in trouble for it. And I'm like, oh, that sounds about right.
Of course.
But I'm excited today about our show.
We got a great one today.
I know it's a carryover from last week. Today we're going to dive in. I do have, after the show today, I have things that I'm doing. But I'm really excited because I have a client that I'm talking to right now, Joe, about how they can reduce the amount of months they have left on it, because they're down. Right now, they're at about 20 years, and they want to pay it off in 10.
Nice.
So I think today's episode, and I told them to watch, I think today's episode, that's when we're really going to dive into that. So I'm excited today about this. So I'm going to stop talking about my life and all the bloopers in it. And let's go to this show.
Well, just a quick recap for everyone. Like I said, if you didn't see last week's episode, go to our YouTube channel, check it out, because there's a lot of great information in there. But just to kind of recap from last week's episode, part 1, right, on amortization and how your mortgage payment really works. Interest heavy payments early, something that we covered. Power of extra payments. So check that out, definitely. Equity, keep in mind, equity really comes from amortization plus appreciation, right? So check out last week's part 1 of this series. Today, we're going to dive into it. First thing we want to jump into, though, is a question that I know you and I get a bit. Should I look at a 20-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage instead, right?
Yeah, I love this question. In today's market, it might not be the same answer that I would have given in maybe 2019, maybe beginning of 2020, because the rate differences is the big thing. So we showed last week on the amortization table the way that, if you make where the break even is on the interest towards the principal, right? We kind of talked about that.
The payment flips.
Yeah, and where was it? Was it right around 20 years?
Yeah, it was right around 20 years.
Yeah, so that tells me that on a 30-year, you're paying a lot of interest all the way up to that 20-year mark. So on a 20-year, where is that same thing? And then can you afford the payment difference? Because there is a payment difference between a 20 and a 30.
Yeah. Tell you what, let me bring up the spreadsheet that I used last week so we can use that as an example, and we'll just kind of play with some of the numbers to help our viewers see the differences in all of this. Now, What I did here,
while you're doing that, what I'm going to do is if I start locking up, I'm going to pull up our Arrive and I'm going to price out a 20-year today and a 30-year. And just so that way we can talk about the differences in the rates. So if I start locking up, let me know.
okay. And let us know as well as you're pulling that up and pricing it. Granted, folks, today is February 11th. So we're looking at pricing, it was at 9 o'clock, just after 9 o'clock. So we're probably looking at pricing how it ended yesterday.
Right.
But let us know as well how you're pricing this out, credit, LTV, all that, because we don't want to.
Yeah, I'm going to do standard. I'm just going to do a 740 FICO. And then I'm going to do a $350,000 purchase or a 400. What is your price range right now for not a first time home buyer, but I mean, 450, 500,000.
Let's do this. Let's make it to where our loan amount is going to be 300,000. Once you start at a 350 purchase.
Okay. Most of the time when people are doing 20% and 30%, they're looking at different things. And you want to do 20%, you said?
Sure. Let's do 20% so we don't have to worry about PMI, right?
Yeah, that is a good one to start with. All right. So I'm just going to go 400 purchase, 320 loan amount. We're good there.
320?
320 loan amount.
Okay.
So you can go into the table. I'll just start pulling up the pricing.
Okay. I've got a 30-year. I might be a little bit high on this, probably am for today's rates, but I'm at 7%. I'm thinking we should be able to get that lower.
Okay.
Probably in the mid sixes with no points kind of thing.
Right. And just to keep this simple, I'm just going to price with one investor. The one thing, if you don't know this already by watching these episodes, Joe and I, we're considered brokers. So we have ability to shop multiple different investors. Mm-hmm. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to put it on one for simplicity for our show.
Okay. So what I'm showing on the screen here is really a comparison of the same loan amount, right? 320,000, we'll say is what it starts out at, with a 30-year compared to a 20-year.
And Joe, I'm going to work this just like I would any refinance I'm talking to with my past clients. Okay. So when I tell you the rates, it's based on what I would sell to my client based on this information. So if anybody's out there, you're like, well, they're doing this, they're doing that. This is exactly how I price it out when I'm talking to a client on if we should drop their rate or not. So when I'm looking at this on a 30-year right now, Joe, because that's something that we look at, I'm looking at if we refinance today at par with no points and we're doing it the way that we set up our refis, 6.375 is my going rate today on a 30-year with a 740 FICO.
What would a 20-year be? Let's just get the difference.
That was the next one I'm going to go to.
And
a 20-year rate on that same scenario.
Is there much difference?
That's why looking at the same investor, my 30-year is better.
Really? The 30-year is better than the 20-year?
I was not expecting this today.
Wow.
But on this investor, I'm looking and the 30-year is 6.375 par. Mm-hmm. And the 20-year, which in this case, I wouldn't even be looking at this. That same rate would be costing me 3/4 of a point.
Wow.
So in this case, this is great. Like this is honestly, I love this because now this tells you what I do. Or this shows you what Joe and I do. Because if we stop there and you're really just trying to go with a 20-year and we sell you on a 20-year, does it make sense to you for your budget and financially? No. That's an LO that's just looking to get a transaction versus an LO that's trying to build and be the professional.
So myself, go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead, Joe. That my question to you was, so in this case here, you're looking at a 20-year and a 30-year. The client really wants to go 20, but you might have to sell them on it. Still makes sense to refinance to a 30-year drop in the rate. So how would you sell this one in this case? Because you're looking at a rate, like if we're trying to compare a 20-year par, your rate would go up. So in this case, what would you do? Would you show them on a payment with the rate being the exact same on the 30-year, or would you take it up to the rate being par on the 20-year?
Well, I would communicate it obviously to the client. But let's do apples to apples and look at a par rate. I don't see your screen, but I'm assuming a 6.5, 6.625.
6.625 is actually where par would be.
Okay.
6.5 cost a quarter.
Okay.
Or 3/8. Sorry, 3/8.
So let's take a look at this, because at those rates, which I get it, folks, it seems very odd, right? Normally, back in 2019, 2020, yes, you'd probably have a 20-year that's going to be more around a flat 6%, right? 15-year maybe under 6%. But in this scenario, today's scenario, you're looking at, just over a $400 a month difference in payment right here, right? So the 20-year would produce a 2410, we'll say, and the 30-year, 1996 a month in principal and interest, right? So my thinking on this and showing the client is, look, go with the 30-year. It's going to be less interest, especially over the life of the loan. Look at the difference in this.
Even with the higher payment, you're still saving over 150, or saving right at $150,000, right? Or is that
140,000?
Yeah, 140.
But here's what they can do that I would coach my client in is, look, make an additional, let's say 300. I'm not going to go for it. Let's start at 300, right? A month. So treat it like it's a 20-year, right? Well, and look at this. Look how close we are. We're only off by what, 6,000?
Right, and you're only going with $300 extra, not $500.
Right. Yeah, not 400, right?
Or
so what would that be? $414, $415, right? But what if we did 400? Let's do the 415, so it's equal. Same payment. Okay, now we're over 20,000 less over the life of the loan. Let's see where they end, right? Let's scroll down and see where they end.
Well, we know the one on the right is going to be right around 240.
Look at that. Well, yeah, 240, right? Because we set it for 20 years.
Yep,
this one, though.
So basically 230, because that last 231 is not even a full payment.
Not even full payment. Yeah. Right. So you're knocking 10 months off, right? By doing the same payment as a 20-year.
Yeah.
Interest over life of the loan. Now that's the way it's set up today.
Right. And that's different. The nice thing that I like that you showed here is going with the 20-year. If a loan originator wanted to say, hey, this is the better one for you, it actually is. So if you compare apples to apples, Joe, take out the 415 for me. I just want to show this.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm going to geek out a little bit, because this, like, Nash geeks out about the market. I geek out about this stuff.
Yes. I could talk about this all day.
When we're looking at this, if I'm a loan originator and the client can afford a $2,500 payment, can I do the 20-year and make it right for them and all that stuff? Yes. Could I look at a 6.375 and charge them 3/4? Because 3/4 of a point on a $300,000 deal, correct me if I'm wrong, roughly $2,750.
Okay. I'm just going to agree. I don't have my calculator up, but okay.
So that's extra interest that you're paying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you look at it from that standpoint, the $258,000 in total interest you're paying, add that to it on the cost to get that 6.375 rate. So Joe, if you'll change that interest rate to 6.375 on the 20-year.
Gotcha.
So now you're at 246,000 plus that 3/4 of a point, to get to that rate at 6.375. So you have to add that other 2,600, but it's still a good savings amount for the client to go with the 20-year versus the 30. Now, Joe, I want you to do the same calculation. Put in there the $415, put in there the $300. If you make $300 extra on this one, now how are we off? Because these are things that you want to start thinking about.
Mm-hmm. So interest over life of the loan, I mean, the 20-year.
But we're still so we're at 2362 versus 1966 plus 23. So we're at 2296. So let's take it up to be exact. Like if you wanted to try to see if we did this, interest rate to interest rate, does it make a difference? Is what I'm trying to show here.
There you go.
Okay. So we're $10 less. But the nice thing about this, and the reason I would still try to sell you, tell you why the 30-year is my recommendation. I hate saying sell, but I'm a salesman. But when I'm trying to show you why I would recommend the 30-year is not because I'm saving you $10. It's because life happens. And in the next 5 years, do you know if your tire is going to blow out? Do you know if your transmission is going to go out? Do you know if any of these life events are going to happen?
Need a new roof, AC unit, whatever, right?
Yep. So if that payment of $2,362, that extra $366 is the difference of you living a little bit better and having money to put aside, I'm going to say I'm going to go with the 30-year because that $366 means a lot. Where if you're making a ton of money and that $366 is not really anything and you don't want the hassle of remembering to add, then I'm going to go with the 20-year. So it depends on the situation of the client in this situation here, because you're going to pay more interest on the 20-year because you're forgetting we have $2,700 that we paid up front to get that 20-year rate. So now the 30-year is saving you that $2,700 if you do the exact same payment. That's what I wanted to show and point out. The importance here is on a 20-year here, if you pay for that rate, you're paying another $2,700 in interest versus the 30-year term at, just adding the difference in the payment on the amortization.
And another thought on this, Joe, and again, it depends upon, like you said, the client's situation, right, that they're in. You and I have both come across clients that they may be retired and on a fixed income, and maybe they can afford the 20-year.
Right.
But to give them the flexibility, because when you're retired on a fixed income, you need flexibility, right? So take the 30-year and pay it like it's a 20-year. But if something happens, maybe it's Christmas time or whatever, you need the extra cash, we'll just fall back to making the standard 30-year payment.
Well, and Joe, I love how you say flexibility, and I want to make sure everybody understands. When we talk about being on fixed income and flexibility, we're not talking about adjustables. We're not talking about pick-a payments, which aren't around anymore, thank goodness. If you don't know what pick-a payment is, you don't need to. You can call me directly.
But flexibility in your cash flow.
Yes. Yeah. And not an adjusting payment. So that your payment is still fixed on that 30-year. You know that if I want to pay extra, I can. If I can't have it. That's what I love about it. And I know we're 22 minutes into the show and we're still on topic one. We're going to have to go to a third week, Joe. I hate to say it. I told you I was going to geek out about this.
There's just so much to cover, and both of us love this subject. I know
it's fun. It honestly is fun, but it makes people think. And you first-time homebuyers, this is where you really need to think. Adding extra towards your principal on a 30-year does not do much for you if you're selling in a year or 2 years. But it does give you back a little bit more towards your principal balance. So when you go to sell, you get that back. Not dollar for dollar in some cases, just because in the first 2 years, the predictability of what the appreciation is going to do. But if you are knowing that I'm going to stay in this house for 3 to 5 years, and you put an extra $300 a month towards it, or whatever that dollar amount is, talking to the professional, you'll pay down the principal quicker. So when you sell the house, you'll get more money back. And it's not a capital gain at that point. And I want you guys to understand this. The mortgage piece, whatever you bought for it, you're not actually paying any capital gains on when you sell it based on the money you're getting from the value when you bought the house. You're paying capital gains on anything you made on top of that. So if you pay your principal off, and let's say you owed $320,000, and you pay that off, and your house is still only worth $400,000 in 20 years, that's not going to happen. But let's say it is in 20 years, $400,000. There's no capital gains that you're paying on, and you could sell your house and walk away with $400,000 and not pay any capital gains. I'm not a tax person, but that's how capital gains work in my mind. So I wanted to throw that out there. So doing this will help you. And first-time home buyers, do it regular, do it consistent, and you'll see a big difference. And then that way you're not worried about down the road.
Especially in 3, 5, 7, 8 years when you go to sell, by making these extra payments, as we talked before, that the equity in your home, it comes from the amortization and the appreciation. So between the two of those over time, yes, you're lowering the balance of your mortgage, but it's giving you more in the end when you go to sell, it's giving you more buying power for the next home.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because you have more equity by paying the loan down and the appreciation of your home value going up.
Yeah. And we talked about him already, so he already made a comment. Mr. Huff is listening today.
Good morning.
His beautiful daughter there. So love it that you're listening. He geeks out on this stuff too. He doesn't talk as much as I do. He just talks longer.
Especially after what was that, 1 or 2 espressos this morning?
I had a double espresso this morning and NyQuil last night, so it's put me on that mode of talk.
So we're probably going to have to do another show, another episode on this, because I know we only got a couple of minutes. I mean, there's so much more that we wanted to cover. We wanted to talk about bi-weekly payments versus monthly payments, and also taking a look at how your loan size and down payment impact your amortization, right? And I was talking with a client yesterday and going through getting pre-approved. They have these extra funds. How should they use them? Should they use them as more of a down payment, right? Or should they use them more towards buying the interest rate down, right? So in playing with these numbers, right, with amortization, interest rate, and stuff like that, you can actually position yourself in a much better financial position over the life of the loan, but you got to work with the right people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we do this show and we're doing a lot of this for education for home buyers, but I know we have a bunch of mortgage people that listen to us, and I actually love this because this is my coaching session. I get to learn things that are topics and stuff. If you don't have an amortization table, or if you need one, email Joe or I. We don't mind sharing this table. Joe actually said who shared this with you?
A big shout out to Phil Lipinski up in Michigan. Buddy, if you're watching, thank you so much for your comment to me last week. He's like, wow, that amortization table kind of looks familiar, Joe. And it's like, yeah, you gave it to me and somebody gave it to him, right? And so on. So it's a great one to use. I know I shared it with Nash as well, loves it. But these are tools that we use to be able to help our clients in putting them in a better financial position. So, shoot me a message, DM me or whatever, and I'll be glad to help share it.
Joe, you made a comment here, and I want to say it because I love how you put this here. When we're talking about 20 versus 30 year, kind of wrapping back up, just this show went on about only one topic, but the 20 to 30 year, this isn't about what's better. It's about what fits your cash flow. I don't know. I didn't hear you say that, but if you did, cash flow. I love that saying. I've never really thought of that. Mm-hmm. Because it's not about what is better. Is a 20-year better? Is a 30-year better? Is a 15-year better? We all get into a parent telling us, oh, you don't want to pay interest. You don't want to be in a 30-year. You want to finance as short a term as possible. Which back in the day where interest rates were at 18%, 17%, you got to think that's when my dad was buying homes. Yeah. And when that stuff happened, they're correct. If your rate on a loan on your mortgage is less than what the market is making you, the down payment matters, but also your payment matters at that point from a cash flow perspective. Because if I can put more in the market and less towards my mortgage payment, that's interest, I'm probably going to leave it in the market versus taking it all out. So doing these difference between a 30 and a 20, that can also, well, I can keep more money in the market, go with a 30, have a lower payment on a higher loan amount versus try to do a 20 with a lower loan amount. And I know we'll get into that, but that saying right there just capitalizes everything that you stated.
Well, and let me kind of catalyst on top of that. I'm going to give a shout out to Phil Wagner, our buddy Philip, right? Because this morning I saw a post that he did, And it talks about this a little bit as far as cash flow. He had talked, and if you're listening, Phil, I give you so much credit in posting this. He said, if 2 questions, when you're getting pre-approved, 2 questions that these clients did not know the answer to. 1, how much is your monthly payment? 2, what is your closing costs, your cash to close? And the clients did not know. Folks, if people are not, if loan officers, your mortgage person is not going in, is showing you these numbers, they're just saying you're pre-approved. Here you go. Here's your golden ticket, right? Fire them. Just fire them, because all it is to them is a transaction. If they're not going into these numbers that Joe and I are showing you, or what Phil Wagner talked about, as far as what's your monthly payment, right? And what's your cash to close? Because if that monthly payment is not in your budget, then we need to make some adjustments to better fit your goals.
You said it right. We have loan officers that don't talk interest rates at pre-approval. That's fine. I could care less what your interest rate is at a pre-approval. I care about what your payment's at. And that interest rate determines your payment. So if you don't remember your interest rate, and a LO doesn't, tell you, oh yeah, we can get you a 6.375. That doesn't matter at pre-approval. But if they're telling you your payment, if you don't know your payment's going to be $23.62 versus $19.96, that's a big deal. And if they're not showing those payments to you, Joe's right. Fire them.
Yep. Well, folks, I know we've run a little bit over and run out of time, and we only got to cover 1 out of like the 4 different topics we wanted to cover today. So we're definitely going to have to do another show on this. But unfortunately, it's going to have to wait a few weeks, because I know we've got some special guests lined up for the next like 3-4 weeks. So we'll let you know when we come back on and continue this. Just keep in mind, there is no one size fits all answer here, right? There are 3 factors that should help your decision on your mortgage: time in the house, cash flow, and future plans, right? How long are you going to live there? Once you understand the math, you can use amortization as a tool to help reduce your interest over the life of the loan and reduce the amount you pay, putting you in a better financial position over time. So folks, tune in next week, because we're going to have our friend Brian Quinn back on our show to go over credit scores and how to prepare yours for your next home purchase. So be sure to tune in Wednesday, 9 a.m. Central. Even better yet, go to our YouTube channel at The Mojo Show Real Estate Podcast. Hit the subscribe button. That way you're not going to miss any episode that comes up, or our past episodes. You can check them out, definitely. Plus, as well, we're as we've said before, we're on a mission to get to 1,000 subscribers. So every like, share, that helps us reach more homers like you, in helping to educate you guys and entertain you. But before we close things out, any last words or nuggets of advice for our listeners, Joe?
The only thing is reach out to Joe or I. We'd love to help you. And if you're an agent out there and you don't have a loan originator that is, doing different things and talking to clients and building relationships and helping them budget, reach out to Joe and I. We want to be that loan originator for you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Joe Mortgage, and that handsome guy with the beard is Cup of Joe Mortgage, and we'll see you next week.